to another episode of Decoded. Today we are going to be diving into a few interesting topics. My name is Kirsten Lake.
My name is Loza Shamatse, and we're still joined by our esteemed guest, Emmanuel Fosteris. Emmanuel, how are you?
Kind, sir.
Good, yeah? I try my best.
How's everyone? Well,
yeah.
Great, yourself.
Lovely.
So today's topic is something that's, when we were trying to think of episode topics for the next couple of episodes, and by the way, coming up with new stuff every week is not an easy feat, and especially to try to keep it interesting. And with all the latest news, and to be honest with you, with my latest obsession with the Apple TV show Severance, we decided to do an episode called Consciousness Uploaded. So this is pretty much, we're going to dive into how close are we to getting our consciousness uploaded into the internet, comparing it to TV shows that we've seen, and, you know, also having a little bit of a discussion about Neuralink, what Elon Musk is doing, and yeah, breaking down, you know, what's our future going to look like? Are we going to have chips in our brains? Are we going to be half robots? And yeah, we're going to try break that down.
Yeah, that's cyborg life. And like what she's mentioned, remember, just again, I'm not even talking that long ago, 10 years ago, we saw this as science fiction, this whole digitally uploading your conscience to the internet. And we've made quite a lot of steps in terms of the research and development of that said topic. And, you know, the integration of AI and quantum computing enhances our ability to actually get our heads into this. I mean, there's a lot of, and it's not just Neuralink from the States, but also from China as well. They're working on the whole brain computing interface, and that's what's actually been labeled BCI. And it's like putting chips into your head, or not head, brain, because the brain's probably the most important organ after the heart. And that whole premise of the chip is to actually do multiple things just by thinking. And
so like on a digital realm.
On a digital realm. Yeah. Like right now, I can be having a podcast while doing my code that I need to do for Monday at the same time. I'm thinking it, but I'm talking to you at the same time. Why? Because remember, like what we mentioned in the previous episode, your brain's full of electrons, full of, it sends electricity to your nerves and full of chemicals. So if a chip is actually managing that, we think a lot of things. Just to get more into that, we do so many things at the same time in parallel and in series as well. For example, you don't think about breathing. You don't think about your eyes.
I am.
Now you are.
Conscious breathing.
Am I still breathing?
Am I still breathing? Yes. Yeah, so now you have to think, oh, wait, you made me aware of that.
Yeah.
I don't know the medical term off by hand, but pretty much it's subconscious. You know you have to breathe or else you die.
Yeah.
That's happening in the background. That's a small little part of what your lobe is doing. Now, if I'm having an interface that can communicate to all my tech devices saying, ooh, it's raining today, which it is. And I'm like, oh, if I have a smart home, I need to integrate I want that hot chocolate and I want it to be ready. But I know I left water in the kettle. I'm thinking, okay, kettle turn on. And meanwhile, at home, it turns on. I didn't have to prompt it from my device. No, I'm thinking about it. And it's doing these things while I'm doing something else, like having the podcast, what I'm doing right now. And that whole brain-computer interface is about to be a big thing. This was science fiction. I mean, like you mentioned, with no shows that have done that. Like, for example, I'll use anime in the instance like Swords Art Online, No Game, No Life, or Dot Hack Sign.
Severance
as well.
Electric States even.
Electric States, exactly. Yeah. All of that, we see it as science fiction. But now it's becoming a thing and a phenomenon that's actually, if we study our brainwaves, because remember, what's it called? CAT scans for your head. It's a lot that goes into that.
Yeah.
And if it gets a pattern, because at the end of the day, it's a pattern. Everything's a pattern. How do you behave when you're happy, sad, mixed emotions? That's all a pattern. And if you gather all of that data, remember, it's not going to be a one-day shop. It's going to be several patterns going over and over and over. Correct. To the point where, okay, I can actually mimic Kirsten's whole brain, whole conscience, whole behavior. Yes.
That's also the thing, you know, before, I think when we thought about the brain, it's this super complex organ. There is so many factors that go into just a simple brain signal in order to pick something up, in order to see color, in order to hear that that's a manual. Like even the fact that I can recognize voices. That is such a complex process in your brain, right? And I think up until this point, we've kind of hit a bottleneck because it's too much data for one person to understand fully how the brain works and thus then modify it or create an electronic device to manipulate it. But now with AI getting to where it's at, and especially with machine learning, which is, and they have unsupervised machine learning, right?
Yes,
so we covered this in our first episode. So if you don't know what that is, go back to the first episode and we explain that. But pretty much that data now, we don't have to understand exactly how everything works. We can just feed it into a supercharged AI model and say, tell me how this works. And it can just spit out for you exactly which brainwave is doing what. And if you now combine that tech with hardware, that's where we're going into the whole new space now with kind of like wearable technology, implanted technology. And I think Elon Musk is currently at the forefront of that with his Neuralink project.
Yes. I think they're in human trials as well. Yeah.
So they've started human trials, according to my knowledge. So the one barrier between humans and technology is the rate at which we can interact with them. How can we transfer what's in our head onto this computer with via voice, maybe, typing? Do we give it gestures and stuff? Like some phones have gestures for screenshots.
Yes.
So this is the barrier, the speed of data transference between us and the technologies. So now what do we do? Okay, we're going to implant chips in our brain. Great. But I have another question for you. Why do we have bucket lists? Do you have a bucket list?
Yeah, they have a bucket list.
So I'm not asking what's on your bucket list. I'm saying why do you have a bucket list?
Personally, I have that so that I can remember what things I still need to do. Okay. Why? Because I can't remember everything.
What you want to do.
Yes.
Kristen, why do you have a bucket list?
Mainly because I feel like life is short and I want to try and squeeze as much out of this one chance that I get.
There you go.
So I made it really young and I was like, let me try and, do that.
Excellent. So that's the answer I was going for. At least you tried, my man.
I tried. Good. I always try.
Absolutely. So for anyone listening, just hold on to your seats now. I'm going to try challenge your thinking a bit.
Okay.
So essentially we have bucket lists because we have a finite amount of time with essentially an infinite number of things that we want to do.
That is true.
Correct. So now what is the weakest link? It's the human body because we have a finite amount of time. So this is going to tie back into the thing you mentioned initially, which was uploading your consciousness, right? So this is stuff that is not possible, but they've managed to map the brain of some very small organism. I can't remember the name exactly. And it took up about 300 petabytes just for this little organism. Having a I think that it's like 300 neurons in the brain or something. Yeah. So as humans, we have like 80 billion neurons in our brains.
Yeah, it's super
and
complex.
synapses and connectors is exponentially even bigger. Now you got a problem. Just for context, Google in its entirety has about 15 exabytes of data storage capabilities across the entire planet, right? That's collective. To map and store the consciousness or all the data points in your brain of one human being's brain, regardless of IQ and intellectual capabilities, you'll need 2 exabytes. So you'll essentially be able to store just over 7 people's brains, given all the data storage capabilities we have currently in the world. So that's the one piece of it.
So just get the smartest people. And
get the smartest people in the room.
Run
it.
Will they be fun to be around? We don't know. But they're going to...
I'm going to answer that question for you. No.
Correct. So the whole idea of consciousness upload is that the body itself is finite in its capabilities to last as long as you wanted to experience everything. So there are companies that work with longevity, but now the other side of the coin is, well, what if we just replace the body? What if we take your consciousness, upload it into some sort of storage capability, whether it be in the cloud, whether it be on some physical thing, maybe there's some other storage technology that doesn't exist yet, light. You can transfer it with light, but storing it in there might be difficult. You can now store data in DNA, which is a whole different discussion, right?
I've read about that.
And these are expansive because you manipulate the data in different ways and you store it in different ways and access it in different ways.
Yes.
So now the thought pattern is, okay, why don't we take our consciousness and upload it into the cloud and then just transport it and implant it into other bodies, like autonomous droids, for example, at some point. Will you have a choice? I want to stay in the cloud. Can I build my own infinite worlds in future where I'm just living in the cloud?
Or
do I want a human body where I want to engage with the real world?
Yeah.
And this is all the things that are starting to come up. But essentially, the discussion is, what is consciousness, right? Still very difficult to answer. It's a human being, it's your spirit, whatever it may be.
It's abstract. It's vast.
So, correct.
Yeah.
It's not really a tangible thing. It's
No.
very much theoretical. How do you gather that data? Well, one way to do it, and there was an episode of Black Mirror on this. I don't know if you guys have seen
and
it.
that episode is actually what inspired Severance, which I want to get into.
Oh, really? Yeah. We'll get into that, absolutely. What they did was they basically just, at some point, will probably implant something in your brain, get all the ways that you react in certain different situations, get those little data points. How would you know if I reacted calmly in a stressful situation? Well, it's very easy. This chip is recording the situation, and it's like his cortisol levels are low, his adrenal levels are low, his cognitive capabilities, very aware, sort of analyzing his surroundings. He acted in this way in this situation. Bank it. What did he do in a heightened state of consciousness? Oh, he was at a festival. His cortisol levels high, his dopamine's high, his adrenals are high, everything. He's just feeling himself, enjoying the situation. Bank that. And then what you do is upload that to the cloud. You can either leave it there or implant it into something else. And the whole objective is to allow you to engage with your loved ones, experience the world a bit more. And I think it's even going to get to the stage where your consciousness in a different physical form will be able to experience emotions, will be able to experience joy, sadness, happiness, and engage with people on that level where it can sort of invoke those types of emotional states in other people. If I make a joke, you'll laugh, depending if it's good or not. But the whole idea is that we will be able to make you extend your life for as long as you want to.
Immortality.
And then tap out.
Yeah.
Because essentially, okay, so another thing is like, what if your consciousness gets corrupted?
That was my next question.
I'll switch it off or on.
What if, okay? Because when have we ever known governments to act 100% ethically?
Yeah.
I don't think there's a single country in the world that has 100% ethical government. Now, if we start uploading consciousness, do you not think that the government's going to get involved in some way, or some kind of dark organization?
Yeah,
I'm going to take you guys
conspiracy
through.
theory.
Yeah,
Conspiracy
I'm going to take you. I love a good conspiracy.
Let's go through that right now.
But like, what if? Okay, I buy into your whole thing, and I'm like, I'm going to go and experience happiness in the cloud forever. But then, what if they take my analytical skills and my math skills and my coding skills, they upload that and then they imprison me inside the cloud, and all I'm doing is they've taken all the emotion away from me, but they've just taken my pure mathematical ability, and they use my brainwaves to power chatbots or to forever eternally code solutions. And this is in that one TV show, Pantheon, where the girl's father gets uploaded, and he's like a super important scientist, and they tell the family that he's dead, but they actually just like took his whole brain and uploaded it, and the whole organization was running on his code, and he was forever just trapped in this infinite loop of coding. Like, I'm not saying that that's possible.
Skynet, right?
Skynet,
but what I am saying is that when AI was coming out, more and more TV shows were coming out with, AI, sort of ideologies and things like that.
Right.
And I kind of feel like Hollywood and Netflix and whatever you're consuming, they kind of desensitize us before they're about to do something. So before AI, there was how many shows about robots and AI and changing the world. And now we have AI, but we're so desensitized to its capabilities because we've watched so many shows about it. Now, if you actually look at the trends on Netflix, how many things are out? How many TV shows are out all of a sudden in the last 3 years about brains with chips in them, or uploading consciousness, or completely like uploading your entire personality onto a cloud? There is so many shows. You've got Severance, you've got Pantheon, you've got Sword Art Online, you've got like the Black Mirror episode. And I feel like on some level, are we not getting desensitized to the idea?
Yeah, we are.
Wow. That blew my mind.
Yes.
Literally, was it on The Simpsons? I'm asking. I'm joking.
I won't be surprised if it was.
Lately, right? No, that's a very good point, though, because like every time, so my dad's not really technologically inclined, right?
Yeah. Right.
I recently got him an Android device, and now he can do video calls with family overseas, and he's like, "This is amazing." He's like, "When did you figure this out?" I'm like, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
He's like, you only tell me now. Different discussion. I'm still alive. It's a good day.
100%.
Absolutely. But he was like, he remembers the days where he had a pager. People would phone this pager, it would beep, and then he had to go and phone them. Talk about it, please call me, right?
Right,
But it's interesting what you're saying. If you want to introduce something, do it in bite-sized chunks in a circumvented way.
What we consume.
Correct.
So we don't fight.
Yes, so we don't
Because
fight.
like, it's
It's
science
that.
fiction.
Yes.
And then when it becomes reality, it's like, I saw that in a movie.
Agreed.
I saw that in a series.
That's why you desensitize. That's why even AI right now, it's open source, but people, because of the Terminator,
We would
iRobots.
desensitize.
Exactly.
And I do feel like on some extent, the powers that may be, in the world, I think that every time something major is about to happen, they almost put these movies of like total apocalypse scenarios with that technology. So that even if they do something bad, we're just so desensitized to it.
Yes.
That we don't react the same. Like imagine if you hadn't had any idea of chips, you've watched no media about it, you didn't think anything, and now all of a sudden they release this chip, you would freak.
You
would freak out.
True.
Yes, you will. You would. I mean,
Just interesting thought pattern that, yeah.
yes.
Because I mean, the fact that we can even discuss this and all of us are just kind of like, they're
okay with it.
Yeah, it's like,
Correct.
We're comfortable with that, yeah.
100%. And oftentimes we forget that, right? We forget that we're in this place with so much data and information coming at us. Like, how do we filter all of it? How do we allow ourselves to be humans again? So the ethical debates around technology are very vast and very different. But if you see the positive side of these things, is like medicine has advanced quite a lot, right? Back in the day, in order to live to 100 years, you had to be some superhuman. You had to eat organic from the earth for your full lifetime. Hunting, gathering, ABC. Now you can live a good quality of life, even with chronic diseases. And how have they done that? Well, a lot of it comes from AI or even computer-powered technologies.
Quantum.
So quantum computing still blows my mind. I've watched your guys' episode on that one, and that was very interesting. Because I try to do it myself, and as big as his brain is, like it has
its limitations.
So correct. But also understanding the human element around it and why we do these things. Why is the technology so strong? Why is it doing so well? Why do we have companies wanting to upload consciousness into the cloud? Why do you want to do this?
That's the next big money.
Is it for the money?
To add on to that, I'm sorry, I had to add on to that. Yeah,
I'm sparking a bit of
because
discussion here.
Think about I think something went wrong in the 2010s with every single industry. Because remember, back in the days, it used to be proper. You used to have engineering firms being run by engineers. You used to have medical or medicinal companies, pharmaceuticals run by actual people that were in the field until 2010. I don't know what happened from the 2010s onwards.
Yeah.
Things have become about money. I mean, Chris and I discussed this earlier in our cloud computing episode, like even with gaming. Before, I mean, your PS2. How many games did you have? You had probably a stack, probably like a book stack just full of games. Now, where's that? I mean, even right now with the Switch 2 reveal, there's a geo-lock. So even if I go to Japan and buy the console, because it's geo-locked, it won't work as soon as I come back to South Africa.
100%.
So now, going back to that, why are companies wanting to now upload these kind of...
Or is it like the Futurama episode where essentially so it's a cartoon, one of my favorite shows of all time.
It's good.
It is good.
It's good, yeah.
But there's this episode where Fry, the main character, he's sleeping and it's just ads. He's sleeping and he's just getting ads in his dreams. Because everybody has a chip in their brain. I can't help to think like a huge company, and they want to create this Neuralink and it's battery powered and once you've bought the thing, then you never have to pay again. Like surely there's going to be some kind of way to have a continual revenue. And what if it is that, they want to just display adverts or you have to subscribe to it, otherwise they shut off your brain. I mean, So this is intense. You watch very different shows to what I watch. I'm just putting that.
We all do, I think.
You raise an interesting point.
Yeah.
So Elon Musk has debated this for quite a while, right? So essentially, when you unleash like a machine workforce into the industries, you're reducing the requirement for humans to be proactively and physically involved, right? So at some point, I think the capitalistic endeavor will fall apart because if you introduce universal basic income, that's a whole
discussion.
Standard of living is another discussion. I want 10 bar, but you're only going to get 4. Why? Okay.
Why? Exactly.
We're going to get $400 a month.
Yeah.
But Elon Musk has a different perception on this. He says to us, the way that the world's going, essentially, we only have a finite number of years before we completely deplete it, right? Because as nomads, I think inherently it's what we do. We have a finite space to live off, and then we deplete it, and then we just move along, right? You deplete yourself in nature A, and then you move on to nature B and give nature A time to replenish. There's so many humans on Earth now, we don't do that, especially with the technologies that are still running on fossil fuel, etc. Very difficult to do. So his whole objective, and there's a movie called Passengers about it, with Chris Pratt and Jennifer. Yeah. And that whole point was they put you in a cryogenically frozen state and ship you off to another planet with no guaranteed return, but your family gets taken care of, ABC, whatever. But now, what if something happens? And actually something does happen in the movie. No spoiler alert, but if you are watching, this is a spoiler alert, I'm just saying. One of them wakes up and now they have to live on this thing that's traveling for 70 years in an active state.
Yes, I've seen. Yeah, now I remember.
Okay.
Yes.
So they're not in a dormant state. So now the whole story is, well, in order to save the human race, we have to transcend its physical limitations, put ourselves in these cloud conscious states, put ourselves in these autonomous droid bodies, because they take your best mathematical abilities. They take your best problem-solving abilities.
And the emotion. Why would we need that?
Yeah.
But
Frontal lobe.
Frontal lobe gone.
But Kirsten is great at this. Wazi's great at that. Emmanuel's good at some stuff. Ship them off to this place. But maybe we don't even have to ship them off. Take their expertise and skills, send it there.
Yeah.
Pop it into a droid, because then what are you? You aren't yourself.
Yeah.
Skills. And you'll think, imagine uploading Elon Musk's capacity into everyone's brain. Do you know how many problems we'd solve instantly? An exponential amount. So now you're looking at it as a beneficial thing, as opposed to just looking at it from a point of view as like isolating and excluding humans. Because once the machines take over and do everything for us, what is left? Well, human experience. We'll probably go back to nature. And I've seen businesses now that are growing quite well around the human involvement, the human energy, drumming circles, retreats, health and wellness places.
Striving.
Exactly.
Striving,
festivals. I mean, they tried to run a festival within Fortnite, right? I think Deadmau5 put that together.
Yes.
It did well.
Yeah, and then they ran the Eminem one, and then the Travis.
So there's quite a few. However, interview or ask those people, which ones did you prefer? Would you prefer go see them live? Or would you prefer to, go see them in the virtual world? 100% live. Because humans thrive on energy. I mean,
Agreed.
Emotions are energy in motion, literally, and we have this body to experience all of that.
Right.
So what if we could leave all the hard stuff to something else that can take care of it, and us going back to be humans?
But then the question is, right, they take my skills and whatever it is that they deem is the skills that they want to take. Do I get compensation? Because if you're training a droid on my skills that I created in my brain,
massive.
Surely I should get compensation.
I'll tell you the answer. No, they're not gonna. They're not gonna do that. Why would they? Why?
That's what happened in Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
There was an uproar by actors because they wanted to digitize them and use them in films, and then pay them royalties. But then again, how long? Oh no, today we don't want to pay you royalties.
Yeah, what you going to do?
About it?
Nothing.
What can you do? You can do nothing.
Exactly.
So these are the ethical guidelines that get built into technologies. But at some point, who's the puppet master? Who controls the show?
It's these companies.
And that's
what they want.
Another topic that we need to discuss at some point.
100%. But also, then we also need to think about the whole thing of to get a chip in your brain. That is not like a quick, I'm going to go and just get this mole removed type of vibe. It's
surgery.
Brain surgery.
It is.
It's a foreign idea to us though, right? Because we come from a generation that doesn't have chips in their brain.
Yeah.
Think of the younger generation though, and tying back to what they are watching. The younger people growing up now watching shows where people have in their brains and they engage with these machines, or they just live their lives with the chip in their brain. So when they grow up and eventually, guys, we can put chips in our brain, they are highly more desensitized.
Yeah.
Think about when phones came out, and back to the analogy of my dad. He was like, no, phones are bad. You're constantly on it, blah, blah. And I showed him the positives around it.
Yeah.
And he's like, yes, I'm keen to get one. So exactly what you're saying, to us, it's a foreign concept.
Yeah.
But the best way to introduce something to a mass is
slow integration.
From the beginning, showing the benefits.
Yes.
How it's going to, help you in your daily life. And then from there, your life's a dishwasher, rinse and repeat.
Agreed.
Okay.
Agreed. Yeah, no, it was a quite extensive topic. And I can't wait to see this play out in our lifetime. And
Scary.
exciting.
It's
Scary,
exciting.
but scary, I'm not even going to lie. But I'm excited and I want to be there for that. Again, Emmanuel, thank you for joining the Decoded Tech podcast.
Really, it's been a pleasure.
Enjoyable.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem.
Thank you. And we will link Emmanuel's details on the bottom of the podcast. His social media is LinkedIn. Please go give him a follow. He posts all sorts of interesting things on LinkedIn as well. He is quite a creative thinker, and he's a great person to follow. So please go check him out. He also does DJing as a side hustle, so you can also have a look at how he expresses his creativity in that forum too. So definitely check him out. Thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely.
It's
Thank
been
you, guys.
an absolute pleasure.
Agreed.
You flatter me, girl.
100%. My name is Jinx. My name is Ozjumase.
My name is Kirsten Lake.
And we just got decoded.
Dun, dun.